Hey guys, welcome to 100 Days of Coding. Today is day number one. Day number one. It's exciting. So what is 100 Days of Coding? Well, I think that for me personally, and I think this is true for a lot of other people, but for me personally, it's really helpful if there's something that I want to do. I need to commit to it and I need to make a schedule and I need to hold myself accountable. And so 100 Days of Coding is my goal for 2021. 100 Days of Coding, does that mean writing code every single day for 100 days? Well, not exactly. I mean, in the past 100 days, I've probably written code every single day because that's just what I like to do. But, writing a few lines here and there is not the same as really committing to 100 Days of Coding. So the goal for this series and for myself in general is 100 days where I'm doing diary style entries, videos about coding, substantial work on a project, a couple hours here and there, maybe I have multiple projects. I've got a couple things going on right now where the project is a large ecosystem, and within that ecosystem, there's a website that has to handle post and get requests to transmit the data. There's a Jupyter Colab notebook in order to test out some of the data. There's a desktop application. There's possible mobile applications in front-end design for the website. All suffice it to say, some projects might require me to work on a couple of projects at once. And so on those days, I might spend an hour or two on each project. But my goal is to be able to look back at the end of 2021 and say, I spent at least 100 days of serious work on my projects, on my videos, on anything coding related, and that's my goal. And so today is day one. Like I mentioned, one of the aspects of 100 Days of Coding is taking notes on what I do, what I spend my time on, what takes me the longest, what are some things that I learn. And so this video here is to serve as the first video diary entry. I don't plan on doing a video for every single day of the 100 days. I might have some text posts on the website. I might have just some private notes that I keep in my notebook. But, commitment to writing down what I'm doing and actually working on things is my goal for 2021. So why do I have this untitled Word document here? Well, I wanted to take some notes on some things that I mentioned because as part of 100 Days of Code, these diary series are going to serve as a way for me to keep track of what I'm working on, what's going on, what I've done well, what I'm not doing well. So I think that I want to use today's diary to kind of talk about where I'm at right now. What are the projects that I have going on, and what are my plans on how to proceed with them? Today, kind of like an overview of where are we at right now on day one. What are some things that I think I'm going to start with what are some things that I have already worked on, and what are some things that I have experience working on. I started my Python journey in July of 2020. To take a step back, I started my Python journey way back in, it'd be November, early December of 2019. Back then, I was working in California, and I was working at a tech company, and it was a really new experience for me. I'd never worked in a setting like that. I personally have a background with a law degree, and so I have always worked in law offices, pretty much, give or take. And so working at a tech company was really different. The people that you meet there are different. There was a lot of people there because I was working on main campus for the first couple of months and then transferred out to another office later. When I was working on main campus, I saw a lot of people. And I mean, there's something that happens that's really beautiful when you have a lot of people together in the same place. I mean, things just get done differently. Things, new ideas just flow freely. When you've got a problem, you can just reach out to the 8 people around you, and someone might have an idea on something that you can do that you might not have thought of. Whether because they're more experienced than you, or they have a different background than you, or they work on different things, or just because they're another voice, And so working there kind of gave me this experience of what it's like to really work in these collaborative environments and it really inspired me to say, you know what, like, if there's something that I want to do, I should just do it. It's time. I'm turning, 30 this year, and it's time. It's time to do the things that I've always wanted to do. And so, that's what kind of got me started on this path back in December of 2019. Let me just check my video because I'm still setting all this stuff up. I want to make sure I'm right in frame. Great. So I started that in December 2019. I started with, there was a Python course. I guess I'm still jumping the gun. There was a Python course taught by Jose Portilla. Great instructor. Really love his material. And I had purchased that course back in earlier in 2019, I want to say like March or April. And I purchased the course because I thought it would help me motivate to do stuff, but I was having trouble, and at the time I didn't have access to great internet, reliable internet. I couldn't stream video, and so watching a video course was a little bit tricky, or I had to, really make time to go out of my way, drive into town, go to the library, plug in my laptop and work on that, or download the videos and then view them offline, And so it was really not the ideal situation. And I just kind of let it fall by the wayside. But I picked it back up in December because I thought, it's just kind of time to try and do just what I want to do, find what it is that I want to do and do that thing. Because all the people that I see that are happy, that love showing up at work, that the people that can, be at work from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and not complain, like that, then they're happy when they go home. Like, those are the people who are doing the things that they want to do. They found what they want and they did it. And, I don't think there's any real point in wasting time doing things you don't want to do, right? Sure, we got to go to work. We got to eat. We got to bathe, whatever we got to do. But, we get to choose every single thing that we do. Every single thing that we do is a choice. So, long story long, I started working on that course. I made a little BMI calculator. That was pretty cool. It was something along the lines of, I wanted to know whether whether the cats were healthy, and I didn't know how to calculate how much food the cats needed to eat. But then that got me curious about, I feel like I've been losing a little bit of weight. How much should I be eating, And from there, I found some calculations for BMI calculators, and I said, I don't want to use a website full of, silly stuff. Like, if I search for a BMI calculator right now, and we go to the first link, okay, it's National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. That's cool, but, this seems kind of annoying, and what if I want to, calculate my BMI multiple times or from multiple people? And I've also heard that there's different rules about the BMI and how to calculate it. And so I decided, let me just find all the rules and I'll build it myself. And I made a little BMI calculator. It's still around somewhere. Actually, I bet I could find it. I won't spend too much time on this. But my point is that I made this little BMI calculator. Please don't steal my password. And when I did, it was a new feeling. Like, it was something that I had never felt before, because I went online and I found, I don't even know if I remember what the name was. I went online and I found the code for a BMI calculations, and here we go. Look, welcome to the online BMI calculator. Press any key. All right, here's the explanations of how, how the things are. Here's the average man and average woman, and then you're actually able to see like how many calories, per day. And then you press any key and you can say, I'm a man, height in inches. So, funny little thing happened. I was on that BMI calculator and I saw, I was filling it out and I went to go type in my height and I typed in 60 inches. Lo and behold, I don't really know why I wrote 60 inches. I'm about 71 inches tall, but I just thought of 60 and I wrote it. Somehow I didn't realize that the number 6 was the stop recording hotkey that I had. So it stopped recording. So it lost a few minutes, but it was just me rambling anyways. The point of that little calculator function is just that when I was working on it, I had a problem that I wanted to solve. I didn't know whether I was healthy. And there's a million ways of tackling that, but I thought the easiest way, the quickest, fastest, most signaling way, if there's a problem, to handle this would be to just use a BMI calculator, right? And I found some online, but I didn't like the ones that I found, and they had advertisements and pop-ups, and it was frustrating. And also, they're probably taking tabs on my height and weight and reporting it back to Facebook ad data so that they can sell me weight loss supplements, something like that. Oh, you're on a BMI calculator? You probably want to join a gym, so let me send you ads for gyms, I don't want to deal with all that. I don't want Amazon, Facebook, Google checking up on this stuff. Like, this is something that matters to me, and I kind of want to keep, my body weight private. And, I don't really have a preference if they know, but why use the tools that involve giving away that data if you don't have to? So I decided I'll build my own. And, as you saw in the little demonstration here, I know you didn't see the end part, but I typed in my data, and this is the information that it gave me, and this is the averages. Again, here's how the things are calculated. If you'd like, you can go check out the REPL and give it a try yourself. The code's online. You can run it online. You can test it out. Have fun with it. Dapper Bright Prediction. REPL it at the Wade Green. Dapper Bright Prediction. You don't need this main.py. That's fine. So yeah, if you're curious about that. And I'll put that link down here so that it'll be in the description. So why did I bring up this BMI calculator? Because it was fulfilling to have a problem and to be able to put forth a solution to it. And that was really great. And so I kept going. I thought, well, why stop at a BMI calculator? Why not keep going? Why not make some other cool stuff? And one thing that I really like is card games. I've always been a card game fan. I love card games. I love, when I was a kid, my dad bought me multiple poker sets. I have at least 9 decks of cards sitting around. When was the last time I played cards? I don't know, college. Probably 8, 9 years ago was probably my last game of cards. Caesar, shout out to Caesar, shout out to Charles, shout out to Floyd, and shout out to Tim, and all the other, of course, Garrett, the poker man, Garrett, all those guys I used to play poker with. But, I don't really play cards now, but I've always liked cards, and I think it's important to keep the things that you like with you and close to you so that you can do them when you want, and so even if I don't play cards now, I can use cards as a baseline for, trying new things. And so blackjack is an easy one. I did blackjack before in Visual Basic on an Excel spreadsheet. It was actually a really clever setup where you can sit there and play blackjack and it'll keep track of your money. But then when the boss comes, you press a button and it like deletes the whole screen. It saves the information on another page, but it deletes the whole page and replaces it with fake data. So it looks like you're just looking at data, but actually you're sitting there playing blackjack. It's one of those Dilbert style, joke things. I only used it for about a day or two and then got bored and stopped playing with it, and then I actually got some work to do. Isn't that the worst when you get work to do at work? So I kept going with that, and I made, I was working on blackjack, and that's when I ended up making those, the trial and error blackjack tutorials, actually. I went through and I wrote a script to play blackjack as one of my capstone projects for the course that I was taking. Because after I did the BMI calculator, I went back in and logged on the course and was taking those videos every single day, and it was wonderful. But yeah, I got to a point where I felt like I could make a reasonable script, and I walked through it and I made it, and it was really cool, and I was very excited about it. And I set it up so that it would just automatically play blackjack, hand after hand after hand, and just to watch it play, it was super awesome. To see a computer continue to do something that you told it to do without your intervention, it's mind-blowing. I mean, I don't want to overemphasize how cool it is to make code that runs well, but it just kind of changes your perspective on what you do on the computer. When I sit here and type out a document, I'm always thinking, should I be typing this myself? Or should I be typing out the algorithm that will make these documents later? Everything is now a value judgment as to whether or not you want to set it up so that a computer can do it automatically multiple times, or whether you just want to do it once. Everything is now a choice between building a program for it or just doing it yourself. And most things, you just do it yourself. You want to write a letter to your mother? You should probably do that yourself. You want to pay your bills? Do it yourself. But if you pay the same 12 bills every single month on the same day every month, well, you don't need to be doing that. You don't need to remind yourself. Like, if you're setting an alarm to remind yourself to pay your bills, don't set an alarm. Set a program to pay the bills. Just cut out the middleman. Sit there and sip your margarita while you get emails back to you saying, thank you for logging on and paying your bill. It's the same username, same password, same bill, same price every time. You can easily set that up. And that's what I worked on. That's what made blackjack. And I was really happy about that. I got done with the blackjack series, super proud of it, threw it on up, got every single video cut down, edited, made an intro, an outro, music where appropriate. I made sure to go through and manually cut out every time I clear my throat and make that gross noise. I went through and cut every single thing out by hand. And I put the videos up. And, I don't always expect to be successful at everything that I do. I don't have it logged into this right now, but I don't expect to be successful at everything I do, but I bet you go look at those videos right now. They've got 2 videos, three views, 2 views, 1 like. If you see any likes, it's probably from my mother. But you know what? The only person you have to impress is yourself. And for me, I'm very impressed with how I did those videos. I spent a lot of time on it, and I am proud of how they came out. The video sucks. The audio is barely audible. But I did it. I set my mind to writing the program, and I was so happy with it that I made a video talking about exactly how to write that program. Was it a good program? No. Was it a good video? No. Am I going to be famous off of it? No. But it's that first step. The first step of just make a program. Second step is make a program and teach someone else how to make it, And then once you've done that, everything else is just, that's just the next thing to do. You want to build a web server that allows users to come on and scrape websites through an offline IP so that they don't get, they don't get their IPs banned or their usernames banned or whatever. It's just steps now. Like, you've made a program, you've taught how to program. Everything else is just a function of one or the other, You either write the programs yourself or you teach someone to write programs so that they can help you write them. And that's all it takes, you know? And so it was just like, that was my milestone for me, making that series front to back. If you go and follow that series right now, it will create that blackjack game and you will understand how it works. And that feeling to me, like being able to hand that gift to someone saying, here's all the basic stuff you need to know for Python, and I've compressed it into about 2 or 3 hours, and once you get through this, you're going to know all the basic fundamentals of Python, and you'll have a cool blackjack game to play afterwards to celebrate, you know, blow off some steam after you're stressed out from learning. Great. So, overview of project. We talked about that. We talked about the BMI calculator, and then blackjack videos. Great. So then moving on from the blackjack videos, after that, I reached out to my dad and I said, I really want to make these videos. Can you help me out? You know, he got me a camera for my birthday and a microphone, which I'm using right now. If you like the sound quality or video quality, shout outs to my dad. And I started wanting to make videos, but the problem was that I got tied up in some projects that are like closed source, you know. And I'm sure I'll talk about those projects on these diaries because a lot of what I'm coding is around those things. That ecosystem I was talking about earlier is built around the project that I'm working on. So I started working on those projects a lot and dedicating my time and learning new frameworks. I realized that I can't just have command line for everything. I need a graphical user interface. So I went ahead and I started learning PyQt5, which, if you're not familiar, PyQt5 is a graphical user interface library built on its own and designed to be integrated into C++. I'm not reading, I'm just thinking, but I'm probably getting all of this wrong. But it was developed to work with C++, and it was adapted to work in Python. But in order to understand why they've made certain decisions, those decisions kind of come back to why things are written a certain way in C++. And so it's like, you don't need to know C++ to work in PyQt5, but you have to accept that when you go into PyQt5, it's not that I'm using Python, I'm just adding on some decorators and cool stuff here and there. No, PyQt5 is an independent, Qt markup language, which was used primarily in C++ and adapted for Python. And so you're dealing with a whole new world of syntax. I didn't really understand that it was such a big library when I first got started. People said use Tkinter, and I thought, yeah, that's cool, but PyQt5 looks prettier, so I'm going to use that because how hard could it be? Well, 3 months later, I started to realize, you know what, I'm kind of going down this weird rabbit hole. Just cleaning some gunk off my Q key, that's why I'm typing it. So I moved down to I was working on those projects and I got really overwhelmed. I got somewhat of a working prototype, actually, and it was fine, but it wasn't the thing. It wasn't done. It was very far from done. It had things like relative paths for scripts that included backslashes. I didn't use paths. I just used strings as paths with backslashes, and so it worked on my Windows computer, but obviously not when I put it onto Ubuntu. So it was designed as, I used PyInstaller to create an exe file to run the program, which was great, but not everything worked. The fonts weren't bundled in, the assets weren't bundled in well, so you had to do some manual font installation and stuff. It was a mess, and it was, I remember giving out numbers, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 lines of code to write a card game. Like, I don't know. It was complex, and it didn't need to be, and I didn't really know why Like, I didn't know how to do it better. I was just like, oh, well, okay, I need a separate function for every button, and then every button's got 3 sub-functions that are personal to it, that only it calls. I didn't understand why that was a problem. And I also didn't understand how to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And so this is probably better. So I took a break from that one. I just decided to leave it alone. Don't deal with it. Move on to something else. I started working on web development because I thought, you know what? Like, GUIs are cool. But you know what's cooler? A GUI you can use on every screen without having to install it or download anything. And that's what a website is, So I started working on Python Django. The choice that I had was, and I'm trying to think for time scale, this would have probably been September, October, probably. I'm not exactly sure when. Python Django started working with, because I had spent a couple months after I completed my course in July, and that's when I started working on that project that I was working on for a couple months, and then got into Django. I saw that there was Django and Flask, and people said Flask is easier, Django is batteries included, and I said let's go batteries included, because I want the real thing. I want to be able to make projects that at the end of the day, these are professional projects that people will be impressed by. These are the caliber of real things that happen on a daily basis. And that was my goal. So I immersed myself in Django. I got the podcasts. I got videos. I got Corey Schaefer videos. I got Tech with Tim videos. And, I found every single resource I could out there. There's some more, and I'll probably put some more resources out there in the video description, just links to other videos that I found, because they're great videos. There are some great free resources out there. If you want to learn Python, I'd encourage, it might be helpful to get a course that has walkthroughs of all sorts of stuff. But if you know Python, you want to learn Django, you're a smart person. So start with the free videos and see how long it gets you. Corey Schaefer has a 30 video series on Flask, and I think he's got one on Django as well. And he's a madman. He's an amazing person. So Corey Schaefer, if you see this video, thank you so much. You were one of the instrumental people that led me to where I am today, and I wouldn't be here without you and all those other people. Tech with Tim, Uncle Bob, all these big names out there. That being said, and London App Developer. I've seen your Django tutorials far too many times. I still don't even understand Docker, but I've watched your Docker, Nginx, Gunicorn, Django, I think, is the stack that you run to make these free videos that are so great, so great. Anyways, that's enough of that. So I was working in Django, and I built some websites, and I was trying to build up my projects, and Django's hard. Django's a lot. But Django itself was not the main challenge. There's a lot of minutia in Django, but a lot of the difficulty came from understanding web development and how the web works. For me, I'm not a web developer by trade. I liked to pretend that I could make websites when I was a kid, because I would just have HTML tags in BG color green and a header tag that says my site and say that's a website that I can put online now. I would put it up on GeoCities and share it with my friends through AIM on Pigeon, and I'd post the link on my MySpace account. Sorry, am I old? No, I'm not old. If you think I'm old, then you're young, because I'm still young. But yeah, I don't have a background in web development. I don't have I didn't know what a request object was. I understood generally that you ask the web server for a page and it gives you that page, but I didn't really understand what was going on behind the scenes. And so learning about the request object, learning about how web browsers render the page, learning about ports and understanding, how to make sure that all your web traffic goes to the right ports and is handled correctly, and how to make sure that you don't authorize access on unauthorized ports, and making sure that you don't have unauthorized routes or leaving in an admin page or debug equals true. Like, how many times have I left debug equals true in a production app? These are all just basic mistakes that you have to know. And Django brings these troubles, but so does web development in general. So that was a bit of a challenge. I struggled through. I got pretty darn okay at it. I learned the process well enough that I was able to make my website, which I've then since updated, but as you can see, my website takes forever to load because it's not optimized. But I made this website in Django itself. You can actually see if you inspect the source. I think there's still like some Jinja themes or something like that you'd be able to see. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, straightforward stuff. I didn't really want to make it too complex. And it's just easy to see, and it's a place where I can put my projects. This is my YouTube channel, this is Green Room Gaming, my gaming channel. This is that project I was working on. This is my D&D group that I used to run. This is when we wanted to get this cat adopted from the neighborhood. Fetcher is a project that I made that is about downloading YouTube videos. So if you're watching this video, you should try using Fetcher to download it and view it in your native video player. Assistant is a Google Home project that I built. But the point being, I wanted to have a space where I could have this idea of a graphical user interface for people to interact with my projects and my work. And desktop applications just weren't cutting it. I built Money Manager, which was one of my very first projects that I've been working on. I still haven't finished it. I built a prototype for that. And I said, hey guys, you guys want to check it out? And some people came to me and said, yeah, I want to check it out. And that was so awesome. It was so great, Thank you to those 2 people, you know who you are, that reached out to me and said, I want to try out your program. Actually, 3 people, now that I think about it. 3 people reached out to me and wanted to use it. And I don't think any of them did, because I had built a Windows-based desktop application. And of the 3 people that were using it, 2 of them were on Macintosh and 1 of them was on a mobile device. And so what do you do about that? Oh, okay, you just spent all this time developing an application for one operating system. Well, great. Nobody that wants to use it can use it, which means that either you need to change your target audience or you need to change the way your product works. And so I did. I said, you know what? I need to be working in web development and try and find ways to make that stuff work. And so I got the Django page together. It was terrible. It doesn't look great. It's not an amazing project, but it's done. And again, I set myself out to have a website. And when I click on it now, I've got a website, and whose name is across the top right here? That's me. And it's like, I look at this website at least 5 or 6 times a week. It doesn't change. It's just 2 pages plus a home page. It's not interesting or important, but I look at it because I'm just so proud of it, and I just love seeing it. Me and my beautiful wife. Top ranked league player on staff. I also hold world records now in Assault Android Cactus, so I have to put those up as well. So I worked in Django, and then I got really frustrated with it. I got this project done, and I accomplished it, and I moved on. If you get tired of something, you just finish and move on. It might not be perfect, but it's finished and it works. And you can reload this page as many times as you want. Doesn't matter. It's going to work. It always works. I'm probably racking up my Google Cloud account on my free credit. I'm going to have to migrate that to Heroku when I run out of free credit. But it exists, and I'm happy with it. But I decided, you know what? Let me take a step back. Let me move to Flask. So I started moving to Flask and realizing that with a simple framework, you can get things done so much faster and so much easier, And I've been working lately now on a Flask app for groceries, which is, on Madam A devices, you can tell it, hey, add something to the grocery list. Well, I wanted that grocery list to live on my server, not Amazon's server. Because what happens if Amazon decides, you know what, we're going to start charging for our Madam A, $10 a month or you can't connect. Well, now I just lost all my groceries, lost all my shopping lists, lost all of my to-do lists because they live on Amazon servers and they have the right to cut me off. So I don't want to be dependent on Amazon for that kind of stuff. If you don't want to be dependent on Amazon, you got to build your own assistant and you got to build your own services that mimic those, you know? So you want a grocery list? Build your own grocery list. Great, but I want a grocery list that I can interact with using a digital assistant. Well, guess what? I've got a digital assistant right here. So I already have the assistant that can take in requests, do an action, and then return some sort of information, like a confirmation, like it's been added to the site. I already got the assistant. All I need is the Flask app that will store the groceries and be able to retrieve the groceries on command. And once you build those and you connect them together, you say, assistant, look to this IP address, and I've got a web server running where all my groceries live. Look there. All you got to do is make that connection, and boom, you're no longer dependent on Amazon. You don't have to pay $40 for each little device that you want to talk to. You just pay for whatever microphones you want, which I've got multiple microphones, so I can just put microphones throughout the house attached to Raspberry Pis running the assistant, and it can be cheaper. But what's more important is it's infinitely more secure because you don't have to travel on the internet to make these requests. It is infinitely more control because you're not at the bidding of Amazon or whoever makes those decisions to determine whether or not this is a service you should have. And it's infinitely more expandable because if I want to make lists and I want to make a list that allows me to add multiple things and then have it count up and tell me, like, for example, how many, like I added 6 t-shirts to my list. How many t-shirts are on my list? How many jackets are on my list? You know, it can, like, that's not a feature that Amazon has. And if you want it, you have to build this skill yourself and then ship it to Amazon servers and have them approve it. And then they put it on the marketplace for people to use, but they can pull it at any time. So you might invest all your time building a skill for Alexa that then gets pulled off the shelves and people can't use. And now you just wasted your work and you don't even have anything to show for it because you can't use it yourself. Why do that? Why be at the mercy of those servers when you can just build your own assistant, build your own services, and then either monetize them to make money or at least know that they are secure, private, and locked down, and you can have them perpetually because you built them yourself. That's sort of the perspective that I was brought to and why I was drawn to Flask after learning Django, because Django taught me how the web works by, hard hitting my head against this wall so many times that eventually I figured out what the wall is made of. And Django taught me web development and the core concepts of how how the internet works and how we interact with computers and stuff. And when I learned that, I realized that there's so much more that I can be doing with Python if I expand my horizons. And there are so many different projects that I can think of just off the top of my head that I would want to be, either replace technology in my life or add new technology into my life. And I think that for me, the whole narrative that I want to share today is just going from front to back, starting from that little BMI project, that little tiny problem that I have that I was able to solve, which honestly, the solution took longer than just typing it into a website. It did. It was a waste of time to code the BMI calculator because it would have been faster just to calculate my BMI once a day on the calculator. Type it in, and that's it. It would have been faster. But building the BMI calculator gave me that initial little tiny burst of freedom. That feeling of, if I have a problem, I don't have to ask somebody for help. I don't have to go somewhere and ask somebody to write a program for me. I don't have to buy a piece of software. I want to edit videos today. I don't want to spend $800 on a starter license of Photoshop, whatever the cost is. I want to just solve the problem myself. Sorry, just adding the notes there. I want to be able to solve the problem myself. And the BMI calculator gave me that confidence to solve problems on my own. It was a small problem. It honestly wasn't even a problem because I was losing weight because I was really heavy at the time. I did not weigh 145, by the way, when I was coding the BMI calculator. A little bit heavier than that, a little bit taller than that. But it gave me the confidence to realize that I can just do it. I can get it done, and I can ship a product that solves problems. And all it takes is just looking in the mirror and saying, this guy right here is the guy that I want to be my software developer, to be my problem solver. And, at first it was a good feeling, but it still felt like, well, I've got a ways to go. But then Django and Flask really opened that up to me because, these days, computers are not just machines that we sit in our den and we turn on when we need them. Computers are devices that follow us around all the time and that we're connected to, and that connect to the internet. And they're all connected always, phones, laptops, PCs, TVs, remote control cars. A lot of these things have computers in them and are connected to the internet at all times. And so understanding how that works, it's like the difference between driving a tractor on a farm versus driving a Ferrari on the freeway. When you learn how the freeway works and you work hard enough to get a Ferrari, it's really fun to drive it down the freeway, And when you learn Flask and you have problems that you want to solve, it's really fun to make it work and to be able to see it right before your eyes go, yep, that's my grocery list. It's working. It's there, So, long story long, today is day 1. Not every blog is going to be this long. I'm not going to do videos for every single day, but my goal is to have 100 days of code. And why? Because starting with the BMI calculator, moving to the blackjack videos, moving to Django and Flask, and eventually opening my mind to solving new problems and working on things like Fetcher and Assistant, I've made the realization that this kind of stuff is stuff that I really want to commit to and I want to be part of my life. And if you want something to be part of your life, then you have to include it in your life. Our life is just the sum of the things that we do during the day, plus our aspirations and dreams and hopes and wishes and thoughts. That's all life is. And so if you want your life to be about doing cool, great things that will help people and solve problems, then you need to find a way that you can solve problems and help people and do those things. Because there's no way to help people other than helping people. There's no way to solve problems other than solving the problem. And so with that being said, for me, the toolkit that I feel like I can best use to help people and solve problems is currently Python, but programming and software development in general, and possibly web development, possibly machine learning. I'm looking forward. I'm still working on Flask projects. I'm still working on that PyQ5 application. I don't know why, but it will never go away. It's just my project. It's my little baby. And one day, maybe it'll be cool enough to show you guys, and I'll put it up on a website, or you'll have a YouTube video about it. But that's a long ways away. But for now, short-term future, it's probably Flask development. Getting better at the fundamentals of Python. For example, I don't use glob. I don't write as many tests as I should. I don't write as many try blocks as I should. There's a lot more to be done. My code on GitHub, I think, looks good, but there's always improvements to be made. I could make asynchronous threading for my assistant requests, even so they can handle multiple requests at once, so you can have one device with multiple microphones. I don't think that's necessary, but there's always ways to improve. So improving those projects. I'm also looking at, I've got another Jose Portilla course on machine learning that I'm working on. And I'm currently, still working on the basics of data science, pandas, NumPy, matplotlib, scikit-learn, all that stuff, But working on that, I think that's something that I'm going to be talking about probably in the future. So expect in the future to see more videos about, this is kind of a video about why am I doing 100 days of code. But in the future, a lot of them will probably be project explanations or overviews, or maybe just, problems that I solved, cool things that I did, new things I'm learning about. That's what the theme of these videos are going to be. They're probably not going to be all this long, but honestly, I like to ramble. So maybe I'll do short and cut down videos, summary videos of these, but if you really want to understand why I'm doing 100 days of code and you want to understand what it's about, then you kind of got to sit through the long video. So I apologize for that. I'll cut it here. Moving forward, today is day 1, and it's February 3rd. I've got a little quote up there today. Let me see if you can see it. You can't. I've got a little quote back here that I liked, and I just want to talk about it real quick. You probably can't see it. It's this one right here. Oh, there we go. But yeah, it says. So it's a revision of a quote that I like. So one of my favorite quotes is Mahatma Gandhi. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. That quote was on a building that I used to take classes at, and I really liked the quote. I thought it was really meaningful, and it has, it's one of those quotes that is always right, but it means different things depending on who you are. And so I think that it's a great one, but what I wrote on the board instead is, we must be the change we wish to see in ourselves. And I think that's really important because if you're not happy with your life, if you feel like there are things you have to do but you don't like doing, there are routines that you do, there are, foods you eat, shows you watch, books you read, classes you attend. If there are things that you don't like, that you're doing that you don't want to be doing, or things that you aren't doing but you want to be doing, well, every day that you spend wanting to do something different but not doing it is a day that you accept that you are not living your life up to your fullest potential. You're basically accepting, saying, I know what I want. I have a clear vision of what I want my life to be like, and I'm not doing it, then you're wasting time. That's it. There's no other reason. Sure, my aunt's sick, my job isn't that great, it's COVID and it's hard to get a new job. Those are all reasons that explain why your life isn't what you want it to be. But they don't really capture the heart of the problem. The problem is that you haven't committed to making the change that you want. Now, granted, some people are going to have thyroid problems and they're going to weigh more than they want. Some people are going to be born with less money and they're going to be able to earn less money than other people in the world. That is true. You can't just wish your way into being rich and famous and sexy and young or whatever you want. You can't just hope to do it. But at the same time, if you don't actively manifest the change in your life that you want to make, no one else can do that for you. No one else will walk in and teach you Python. No one else will walk in and buy you 2 tickets no one else will go and pay for the shipping costs to move your entire life across the country. No one else will apply for a job for you. Maybe a recruiter, but you got to meet the recruiter, We have to, if there's something wrong with what we're doing or who we are, it's on us, Do you want to be the person who walks around complaining that their life is just the worst and, I hate this, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do this? Do you want to be the person who focuses on all the things you don't like, or do you want to be that person who saw the things you didn't like and actively made a change in their head and said, I'm no longer going to do this, or I'm going to start doing this, I'm going to start learning coding. I'm going to start committing my time to the things that I care about and not just the things that people send to me, And I think that's really important. I don't mean to be that, it's it's so easy, but it really just is. If you actively make a change, if you commit to something in your mind, even if you don't follow through with that, just committing to the thing will fundamentally change the way that you see things and the way that you approach problems. And if you can just commit in your mind wholeheartedly to a set goal that is achievable, like for me, 100 days of code, if you commit to that goal and you work your hardest, even if I only make it to 80 days of code this year, which I highly doubt it, I think I'm going to do great, but even if I only make it to 80 days, that is 80 more days of coding than I did 2 years ago. that is probably more days of coding than I've spent, in my, well, okay, like if I do 200 days this year, right? That'll be more days of coding than I've spent in my entire life. That will be more than doubling the amount of coding that I've spent time doing. And I mean, if that doesn't sound amazing, like double the amount of time that you've spent, I've already been able to build such cool things, and it's been so inspiring and made me feel great that, like, for me to say that I could double the amount of time that I've spent on this and be able to make things that are twice, 3, 4 times as good if I just keep working, it's like, why would I not? I mean, I stay up until 2 a.m. some nights just because, like, I want to keep working on this stuff. I want to do it. I want to be able to do these better things. And, like, I never knew how badly I wanted it until I just said, okay, let me just sit down and write this stupid little BMI calculator, try and solve one problem and see how it goes. After that day, it was just like a snowball. I couldn't stop wanting to learn about code. I've got, open up my drawer here. I've got my coding books and my little notebooks and stuff. I'm not going to pull everything out of my desk, but I keep all this stuff on hand because I love this stuff and I love doing it, and all I want in life is more time to do this stuff. If that's all I get, I am a happy clam, And that's how I want everyone to be living their lives. Find the thing that it is that's going to, bring that best side out of you. That person that wants to work hard, that wants to do better, that wants to make improvements. Because, like, it used to be that I couldn't get myself up to, working on cover letters or, reading books about being a lawyer. I didn't want to do that stuff. I had to force myself to do it. Now I have to force myself to stop coding. Go see your wife. You haven't seen her all day. Go feed the cats. They're starving to death. I have to force myself to stop coding so that I can go do other things. I've never had that experience before. And if you don't have that experience currently, maybe you're a software developer and you don't feel that way. Oops. Getting close to my work time. Maybe you're a software developer and you don't feel that way and you need to go be a professional soccer player because that's what brings you that passion. But, like, if you don't have that feeling of, I want to spend all of my time and then some doing this thing, then you haven't really found what your true calling is. And just like it says on the board, we must be the change we wish to see in ourselves. No one else will find that calling for you. No one else can try something else, I can tell my buddy to go learn Python, then come back and tell me how it was. I have friends who have done that, who have said, I've been learning Python. It's really cool, man. You should join me. I remember in college, like I had a friend who did that, and I thought, yeah, okay, whatever. It's just a lot of work. I don't know if I'd be into it. I didn't do it, And, like, if I had done it back then, maybe I would have had a way different career now, But suffice it to say, like, you can't ask someone else to change your life. It has to come from you. You have to do it, you have to want it, and you have to choose it. And you have to choose the path that you're going to go down. It's an active choice. We make this active choice passively every single day. We make the choice of what we're going to do today, what we're going to spend our time on, how we're going to talk to people, Am I going to go home and complain to my significant other about my day, or am I going to go home and try and find something fun to talk to them about so that we can both have a good time rather than us both feeling crappy about something bad that happened at work? Like, these are all choices we make during the day. And if you make those choices in the right way, I know that you'll find this passion and this drive to do things just like I have. And if you do, I would suggest maybe commit to 100 days or, find a way to commit to doing that, right today, right now. If you can think of something right now that you wish you were doing and you haven't done, in the past year or whatever, or like, if you can think like, this is what, out of everything in the world, this is what I'd rather be doing. This is what I'd like to spend every day of my life doing, If you can think of something like that and you're not doing it, well, stop this video right now. I'm just going to ramble for another 5 minutes, but stop this video right now and go out and do that thing. Buy paintbrushes. How much do they cost? 25, 50 bucks? Whatever. You want to be a dirt bike racer? How much does that cost? Like $3,000, $4,000 for a dirt bike to get started? I don't know. $3,000 to $4,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people, including myself. But is $3,000 or $4,000 worth preventing you from finding that joy and passion that makes you want to get up in the morning every day? I don't think so. Even if you waste $4,000, you break your neck, you're in a coma, and you didn't like it. Well, that sucks, and I'm really sorry to hear that. But you can rest easy knowing that you put yourself out there, you tried it, you really gave an effort towards something you cared about. And even if it wasn't the right thing, well, then you've succeeded at trying. And that's all that I can ask. Anyways, I think that this has been a long video. I don't know. We're probably like an hour or something stupid. 45 minutes on this video plus the intro. Yeah, this is like an hour long. So suffice it to say, I'm not going to talk for an hour next time. But I wanted to share kind of like the intro of my journey and where I'm at right now, starting this 100 days of code. And then maybe the last day I'll do a reflection and compare this episode to what I've been working on. Anyways, if you liked this video and you've made it this far, honestly, if you made it this far in the video, find a way to reach out to me and contact me and tell me the word pineapple. And the first person that does, I'll send you $20 for just watching this video. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not easy to sit and listen to me talk forever. But I think that if you've watched this whole video, hopefully you've gotten some sort of good inspiration out of it, or at least an understanding of who I am and where I've been and what the goal of 100 Days of Code is. I will see you guys in probably the next episode of 100 Days of Code. I might have some other video series that I want to start up, but for now, this is Wade signing off. February 3rd, day 1, 100 Days of Code.